What's going on, guys? It is Brandon back here again today for another season preview, and today it is the Philadelphia Flyers' turn to get their preview. A team that has, unlike the most recent teams, they've been consistently out of the playoffs, or they haven't been in and out, or just got back in, or just fell out. This is a team that's been out of the playoffs for over. It's going to be going into 6 years if they miss this year, which I'm predicting they will. But it's a team that's a younger team, but there's still some kinks that need to be ironed out before they really get it back into playoff contention. Danny Briere is heading into year 4 as GM. He took over right before the trade deadline, I believe, of 2022. So he didn't only. It was very late in 2022, and I'm counting that as during the year. So 23, along with that, 24, 25. No, he took over in 23, and then 24, 25. This will be 26 as fourth year. Coach is Rick Tocchet, and he's brand new, coming over from the Vancouver Canucks. First line, you have Matvei Michkov, RFA in 2027, Sean Couturier, 7.75 until 2030, and Travis Konecny, 8.75 until 2033. This team's getting, I think, a boost because Tortorella is not going to be here. I think without Tortorella, Tortorella gets you more wins than you probably should with a certain team, but also that comes at a cost of your players will hate you. So Konecny, 8.75 until 2033. Forrester on the second line, $3.75 million until 2027, where he will be an RFA. Trevor Zegras comes over from Anaheim, $5.75 million until 2026, where he will be an RFA. Then you have Owen Tippett at $6.2 million until 2032. On the third line, you have Abels, $800,000 until 2026. Noah Cates, $4 million until 2029. And Bobby Brink, 1.5 until 2026, where he will also be an RFA. Nick Delorier, 1.75 until 2026. Dvorak, $5.4 million until 2026. And Hathaway, $2.4 million until 2027. So Philadelphia, a team with not a lot of cap space, they're getting about $7.5 million back from just retentions and buyouts. So all that's coming off the books. You have a lot of expiring deals. On the forward group, you have Zegras, you have Abels, you have Delorier, you have Dvorak, and you have Brink. You got to pay Zegras and Brink, but among that, you can use the money if you need to give them raises from these 3 contracts as well as those retained slots. Forward depth, you have Richard, you have Grabenkin, who I think is a very interesting prospect. Luchenko, Martone, and Nesbitt are the recent first-round draft picks. They should be making their way into the lineup. Luchenko maybe next season even makes his way into where Abels is, and they start building up from there. Because this team's going to take a couple of years, I think, to get really back into playoff contention. But I think Martone's going to be a big piece of that, and Nesbitt's a pretty good prospect as well, along with Luchenko. And maybe Grabenkin gets even some time on the fourth line to be kind of a physical presence there. Defenseman. Sealer, $2.7 million until 2028. I remember when he was a waiver claim by the Blackhawks, and unfortunately they didn't keep him. Travis Sanheim, $6.25 million until 2031. Really turned his career around last season. Appeared at the Four Nations, and that contract looks a lot better now than it did a couple years ago. Cam York, $5.15 million until 2030. He's been extended. Jamie Drysdale's got another expiring deal, $2.3 million until 2026, where he will be an RFA. And I could imagine that he and Zegras, who are buddies off the ice, but played in Anaheim together, are going to get some time to play together in Philadelphia, 100%. Zamula, $1.7 million until 2026, where he's an RFA. And you have Ristolainen, $5.1 million until 2027. He becomes more of an attractive option. They've already used 2 retention slots. Maybe they retain on Ristolainen, and then there's 1 more year on that contract. So maybe if someone needs a bottom pair defenseman, that's one of them they ship out. Not a ton of defensive depth, but you have an intriguing prospect on defense. You have Gilbert and Juleson. Juleson comes over because he's Rick Tocchet's favorite player. Bonk. He was a first-round pick not too far back, and he's going to get some time, I assume, in the next, either this year or for sure next year, to make his way into the lineup and possibly that spot that Ristolainen holds. Then you have Andre as well, who played some games last year, a lot of games, but a name that I didn't hear a lot about because Philadelphia just hasn't been good, so you don't really hear about them. Goaltending, this is where this team kind of falls apart. Overall, right now, you'd say it's about an average team. If they have some good goaltending, maybe they get into the 85-point range. Goaltending's where that point range comes right down. Dan Vladar, he had a bounce-back season last year, but much behind a Calgary Flames team that had 96 points. $3.35 million until 2027. Ersson, $1.45 million until 2026, where he is also an RFA. Depth-wise, you have Fedotov, $3.275 million until 2026. You also have Kolosov, who's an RFA in 2026, if he doesn't jump back to the KHL, that is. In terms of this team's recent history, they've been out of the playoffs for 5, or we can go additions, Zegras and Vladar. Subtractions, Paling goes to Anaheim in the Zegras deal, and Peltier signs in Tampa Bay. It didn't bring him back. But overall, this team's been out of the playoffs for 5 years, and they were making strides, and then they kind of fell back a bit this season. 2020-21, they went 25-23-8 for 58 points, 19th in the league. That was after they had a really good round robin, and they had the first seed in the playoffs in 2020. They won round 1 against Montreal in 6. They come against the Islanders. They're down 3-1. They come back, but they get kind of destroyed in Game 7 of that series. So they fall out. 2021, they're expected to stay in, but this is that stage where the Flyers are still in and out of the playoffs every year. So 2021, that's their final time where they will be out, because 2022, they fall out for the second straight year for the first time in, I don't even know. 25, 46, and 11 for 61 points for 29th in the NHL. They had 25 wins again, but they only had 3 more points in about 25 more games. So that's how you know there's a problem. 2022-23, 31, 38, and 13 for 75 points, which is 26th in the league that year. So it's a 14-point improvement. They move up, and it looks pretty good. 2024, 38, 33, and 11. They have a winning record, 87 points, and that's the Tortorella effect. 21st in the league, in a very tight Eastern Conference. That's a year when a lot of teams are competing for that playoff spot. And then 2025, they fall back down to earth. 33, 39, and 10, 76 points. 29th in the league, and they finished last in the Metropolitan Division. Already a weak division. This season, I expect them to take steps forward. I think they have a much better roster. Not a much better, because there's not a lot of turnover. But I think the addition of Zegras as your second line center, I think that's a really good bonus for this team. It's a kind of a position they really needed filled. Cates, I don't think, was ready to take that step. Zegras is looking for a bounce back. And Couturier, he's starting to get older. He's had injury concerns in the past. It could be time. There could be a point where Zegras leapfrogs him and takes that number 1 spot, assuming he gets extended next summer. So Penguins, I expect them to fall off a bit. Islanders and Flyers, I think, should be around the same area, and then Rangers up. That really could all be playoff teams if you wanted. Columbus might fall down a bit, but we'll see. Overall, a very interesting future for the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm excited to watch this team grow. It's always fun when the Flyers are in the playoffs, because usually they're a big and bruising team. However, I don't really see that. I mean, you have Delorier, you have Hathaway, but that Broad Street Bullies vibe isn't there, so I wonder how this core is going to kind of take that route, because when you think of the Flyers, think of a big, bruising team, and they just really don't have that with this set of young players that are coming up. And their veterans are kind of the last couple physical enforcers in the league, especially Delorier. Hathaway can play up and down the lineup if need be. Anyway, guys, that's going to be all I have for you guys in this one. Let me know down below what you think of this Flyers team. Who do you think it might get moved out at the deadline? If possible, this team has a lot of RFAs. I really don't think anyone gets moved at the deadline. I can't really see anyone wanting Nick Delorier, or there's really no one they really can move out. So this might be a very quiet season for the Flyers. Might be one that flies under the radar. But we'll see how Rick Tocchet does as his first season as the Philadelphia Flyers head coach. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I shall see you all in the next one. Have a good one.